J-Boy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. It's been a couple weeks, dude. I had some technical difficulties last week. I wasn't able to do it. Can you hear me okay and everything? Yeah, man, I got fucking cold or some bullshit. At least it ain't the COVID or the fucking respiratory or even the clap. That's no bueno. That would be some explaining to do to Mel. Woo! Dude, I saw your latest video with that fucking tool. That's pretty sweet, man. It's pretty cool that, like... I mean, if anybody was gonna fix a fucking tool, it'd be you, brother. You just, like... This shit is not to my specs. And you just, like, deconstruct it. Get your magnifying glasses and your microscopes. And you're like, yeah, we're gonna make this shit tight. You did, man. I mean, you should... I'm telling you, man, you should fucking be like a quality... quality control for fucking, like, Tandy and... I only know Tandy, because Tandy's like a Texas company, I believe. Matt, what's up, bud? Hell yeah, dude. So Mel gives me 200 Christmas lights, right? To go, yeah, Brian, I want you to do this grandiose with 200 fucking Christmas lights. So I was able to, like... wrap the railing to the fucking entry on the deck. That's it. I'm like, baby, I need more lights. I can only do so much with 200 lights. So, it's pretty sweet though. I got some mad light hanging skills. Yeah, I got my stockings up. I'm the Black Santa. Fucking rock. We got me and Mel and Jason and Lola and Bree. It's Mel's daughter. So, fuck yeah. I just bought Mel a Christmas gift today. It's fucking massive, dude. And she wakes up and she's like, you know, drinking her coffee and she's like watching TV. It took her like an hour before she fucking saw it. And then she's like, what's that? I'm like, yeah. Where's my gift? Oh, there's nothing under there for me, is there? You gotta twist that knife in there, man. Make it feel bad. So you get something sweet. Dude, you better get on the ball. You got fucking kids, man. There's no reason why that tree can't be done in like a night. You got kids, you got a wife. You put it up and boom. Kids, you sit back, drink your booze, and just watch them go to town. But yeah, so a couple minutes and we'll jump into the show. It feels like I haven't done this in like forever. I just did a shit on my table. So if you get a chance, take a look at it. It's all my painted World War II American stuff. So it's pretty sweet. Man, fuck. Back in the day, Jay, remember when me and you would drive around to like Phil's and we would go to all those fucking hobby shops in Fort Worth and Dallas, and I'd be looking for 148 Bandai. Remember that shit? I would buy everything they had in Bandai, everything, because that's the only fucking thing they had back in the day that was 148. I miss those days, brother. I miss going model searching with you, dude. Fuck. That was some cool shit, dude. I remember the best model stores were just those ones you walk in. It's all dark and dank, but it is just wall to wall, just fucking models, dude. Fucking heaven. Those are good times. I don't even know if they have model shops like a buddy of mine, JVC James from JVC Paints. He lived in Japan. He just did a video where he went to some area in Tokyo that's like Geek City. It's like a geek fucking mecca. And it's in Japan, so guess what? It's got all the sweet shit, all the weird Japanese shit. Fucking great. So, like, you can go your model shopping, and then there's, you know, you got the whores down the street, and you got the booze, and you got, like, your anime and your mangas and your hentais and all that shit. So, woo! That motherfucker must have pounded like 10 beers, dude. That is a... He's a beast. But yeah, I'll put a link to his video. You guys go check out James's JVC paints. It is fucking epic, man. It's awesome. But, okay, so it's 8 o'clock. Boom! Let's ring that bell. This is Weird World War II. We're on the march. So tonight, we are going to rap about converting role-playing game modules. Yeah, so Jay, yeah, Hobbytown, Akababara. That's it, dude, or whatever that is. Dude, so Matt says that he lived in Tokyo for 6 years. Dude, you have got to check out James's JVC paints, his channel. It's fucking awesome. It's cool because he's a Canadian expat that lives in Japan, and he's just a cool guy, man. He's a modeler, but he's also a wargamer, but he's mostly a modeler. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, Bill, man. Bill's was Bill's Records and Tapes, dude. You're thinking of Phil. Phil was the guy in Dallas, the model shop. Bill's is the record shop in Dallas. But anyway, so back to it. So we're going to talk about converting role-playing games into tabletop miniature games. Now, I mean, most role-playing games have, your combat system, which is easily, because a lot of them you use miniatures for placement and spacing or whatever. So it's not a big leap to do that. But the challenge is in all the other shit, right? So unlike a traditional war game, which is like you got points and you fucking have an art like this just vague ass mission objective, like, okay, take this fucking widget in the middle of the fucking battlefield and hold it for whatever, some bullshit, This kind of shit is like story based. So there's gotta be a player or players, and then there's gotta be like a game master that's gonna read the whole thing and know what the fuck's going on and basically, host the game and then play the enemies. Because it basically becomes him versus the players. And again, there's this big contention in role-playing game like circles. It's like, do you play straight? Like, if the party's TPK, too bad, motherfuckers. You should have done something different. Or do you kind of alter it because you want to tell the story? Is it about the story? Is it about the actual mechanics and the decisions? Hard decisions. You're dead if you do the wrong thing or whatever. But so in this, you gotta play it in a somewhat fair way. You can't just fucking steamroll these guys, because if you're gonna be playing miniature tabletop rules for this kind of stuff, you gotta have a pretty robust rule system to begin with to play it, in my opinion. So that's not, I don't know. You have to know the system that you're playing if you're hosting, and the system that you're going to be using. You got to know that system, because you're going to have to deconstruct it, and you're going to have to play almost a skirmish level game with maybe platoon. Like if you play bolt action or something, or chain of command. I'm not sure how chain of command. Well, yeah, you could do chain of command. It would work the same mechanically, but there would be you couldn't stick tight to the mechanics of the system that you're using, okay? And the reason why is they're not meant to be played with very few minis, and each mini is kind of has specialties or that kind of shit. So you really have to deconstruct the system that you're going to use and figure out if it's going to be workable, okay, on your system. Now, most systems have a morale, or they have a leadership or some shit like that, and that can be your basis for any kind of role playing, right? So if your guys gotta observe, if you don't have a sighting system in your mechanics, you can use your morale of the game system and modify it in some way. So like if it's a far away, you know, subject to see, you know, you do modifiers to it or whatever. But again, morale and leadership, you know, shit like that would work easily for the role playing system of. And then when you get into the combat would be pretty much the same in your game. Although you probably wouldn't work in I mean, you could do like, you know, the good guys go and then the bad guys go, or you could do individual figures, because most role playing modules aren't going to have like squad versus squad, you know, or platoon versus platoon, or army versus army. It's going to have, you know, a small group, maybe a half a squad, or at the most a squad, versus, you know, either equal in size or just slightly larger or smaller, but depending on what the mission is. But for an example, we're gonna use the Achtung Cthulhu. Now I'm not gonna get into super detailed like of the mission, because I don't want to ruin it because we haven't finished playing it out. But like, so there's different sections in most modules, right? You've got the story sections, which is easy. You can just read it, or give them, you know, flyers, or, you know, mission debriefing, you know, sheets or whatever it might be, and just inform your player or players like what the story is, you know, that, because you got to set up the story or whatever. Now, in a lot of role-playing games, there's a lot of like, you know, rolling to see if people are lying, rolling to see if you can like investigate, if you can do perception or whatever it might be, or knowledge checks or whatever, to like gain more information, or to you know, interact with other individuals either in the party or outside. You know, they're interacting with other people that aren't on the battlefield. Now, what you could do with that kind of role playing is that, of course, you don't want to like role play so much, because, you know, the people that are playing it are expecting to play a tabletop battle. So what you could easily do is you like an example would be like, you discover some information, you know, let's say like in this one, the resistance discover, because I can tell you this because I've already videoed it, that there's a train coming inbound into their area of influence that has Hitler. So they have that information, but there's a time restraint, right? So against your players, you can give them options. You know, what do you want to do? This is the information that you have. You know, it would take you so many hours to get to the location where you think that you might be able to board it or destroy it or whatever it might be. And then you have the timer. So do they contact, you know, London and say, hey, you know, we have this information? Do they coordinate with their handlers if it's legit, or do they just, because they're in a hurry, do they just go? Do they skip it? Do they even fuck with it? Now, I mean, you could do that. Like you know, the party's like, yeah, fuck it, we're not going to do anything. And it kind of shoots this, you know, it kind of throws away the whole module because they don't want to do it. So you know what you do? You just have like, you just fuck them. They're sitting there and they're saying that, and then all of a sudden the Gestapo shows up, and then there's like 2 platoons of crack, you know, fucking, you know, SS that just murder everybody in the barn. Game over. All right, that's done. Game's over. Or you can play out that battle, you know. If they don't want to do the mission, that's fine. Convert it like that they do a radio transmission to London to tell them what's up, and then it's overheard by the traveling, you know, radio detection squads, and then they pounce on the barn that they're in, and there you go. Instead of playing that mission, you play a survival, you know, your resistance cell has to like escape the burning barn that they're in, that's surrounded by the partisan fighter units of the army or whatever. So you could go that way, because you got to be quick, because people fuck you. I've been DMing and GMing forever, and sometimes they just don't want to do the mission. They want to, you know, screw you. So you got to be quick, and you just come up with something quick, and there you go. You still have a good time, you still have fun, and you still play. But let's just assume that they're going to follow the module that you tell them that you want to play out. So you have the info gathering. So you want to see if it's legit or not or whatever. So what you would roll is you would roll like your morale or your leadership against it. Maybe some modifiers you thrown in there because where it's coming from, or maybe they don't trust the information, or they want to if they fail, let's say they fail their roll to say they think that's legit. So that would force them to make that call to their handlers. Scott, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Yeah, come by. We'll I'm gonna do I'll do a edited version of it, and you'll see all the bonus stuff. But yeah, come back. I'll definitely put it up on my YouTube channel. So thanks for swinging by, though, brother. I know it's Christmas. I know a lot of people got things going down and whatnot. So I try not to be too long. But this is really fun because there's a lot of role playing modules out there, man. And if you just have a little imagination, you could really convert this stuff, into your World War II or Weird World War II. JC, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. You can really convert this stuff into your gaming. And it's a whole new, because I know you tabletop gamers, doing points and then doing the vague ass, okay, we're coming from the corners and you have this, and all you got to secure is this, this section of the battlefield, and if you do, you miraculously win the game. All that bullshit. I'm not into that because it doesn't make sense. It's not very fun. But when you do, if you can easily make these modules into short, like maybe 2 or 3 battle campaigns, you can pick from, there's World War II role-playing games out there you can convert. There's, weird World War II stuff. There's Octoon Cthulhu. There's, you can convert any modern role-playing game modules into a weird World War II or just straight World War II. Just with a little imagination, you can make it happen. But again, so back to the mechanics of it all. So again, you have those mechanics where the party, the player's party is having to find information. And again, you use your morale, you use your leadership to figure that shit out. You can even roll on, you can even make up charts saying like, if they fail that roll, this is what, roll on this chart, and this is what they believe. They believe that maybe this is a ruse. Maybe there's a different train that has them, and maybe they have to go assault like a train station or something. So you can really like create your own like mission off of the storyline of this. Yeah, so JC was saying that his group used to play Morrow Project, which is a post-apocalyptic, and they turned a lot of their modules into wargaming. But again, since this is a story base, you got to kind of stick with the story. And if they don't want to do something, or if the story changes, if they just roll like ass and it doesn't coincide in what they can do, you can either branch off and create your own shit, or just try to get them back to it in some way. Maybe let's say they failed the information, or they didn't get all the information that they could have found. Well, maybe because of that, they're not able to pick up a couple other guys to help them, like in the attack. Maybe because that information wasn't seen or heard or conveyed, that they lose a couple guys in what they could have had in the assault, or maybe some equipment that they could have picked up or found, they could have used for the attack, but because they didn't discover the information or rolled rolled in a certain way, you just deduct either that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily have to go into a really deep conversational game. You can just basically say, hey, roll this. This is what you see. If it's a failure, roll on this chart. If it's not a failure, you just keep guiding them through this. So in this one, you have a chance to contact your superiors, and if you do, certain things might happen, and if you don't, certain things don't happen. And then you've got, most modules have sections. It's you're here, you start, and then you gain information, and then there might be some sort of engagement, and then you push forward and you keep going. So that it's like a story. So the next chapter might be, if they're on their way to in this one they have to get to a weapons cache that has their heavy weapons, which has like their demolition charges, and it has that kind of stuff. So they got to get to that. So to get to there, they got to go through the woods, and they got to be stealthy. And again, you can roll, if your mechanics don't have like a stealth or anything like that, you can just roll on their leadership and morale and modify it. If there's if there's enemy patrols around, you can do those. You can do modifiers against their leadership, and if they pass it, then they're able to maneuver through these areas without any kind of reaction. But if they fail, you do an engagement. So you just you can just throw together a wooded scene, and your squad stumbles across, or the enemy stumbles across your squad, and you throw down. And if they survive, then they loot the bodies. That's a big thing in these kind of games, is because since they're story based, extra equipment is always good. So like, let's say they run into a 5-man German squad, they're able to ambush them, and so they're able to kill them pretty easily. Maybe that squad had some grenades. Maybe there's some like papers that might come into handy later on down the road. If you have a story for it or whatever, and just weaponry too. You probably just have small arms. Maybe that squad had a machine gun or a submachine gun. So there you go. You got some better equipment to do the assault with. But again, a lot of this is going to be on you, the GM, because these guys are just going to play, and you got to come up with a realistic and fun conversion of this. And then as you pass through that engagement, then like there's the big battle. Like the first big battle in here is that there's an outpost that they have to bypass. Now, like when I was playing Mel, I told her, okay, so you have to bypass. You can't bypass this on foot because there's a river. It's cold. You'll freeze. You don't have like extra, and you're on a timer, so you don't have like a lot of time to be fucking around. So she came up and formulated some sort of like a plan of attack. So outside of the wargaming, most traditional wargaming, you as the player will tell you, say, look, I want to sneak up to here and then set up an ambush. Like Mel wanted to sneak up into the woods, to the tree line and set up an ambush. And what you do is you just roll against it. Like I would say, like let's say you're playing bolt action, you would say, okay, roll your morale, okay, at a -1 or something, right? Because you're going through they might hear you. So if you pass it, you're able to maneuver to those positions, okay? So then then you play it out, and then there's going to be some, because this is a role-playing game, there's going to be conversations maybe, like in this one there was. In my Battleground, there's limited role-playing in the mechanics. So, she basically rolled against her morale and was able to fool the guards into responding. And they were green, right? So they failed when I rolled to do the morale check, because they're guards. They see another German, and she's a chick, and she looks like she's hurt. She collapses. These guys are green, so they're probably young. They haven't really experienced a lot, so they start to move. They failed their leadership, okay, or their morale, and they acted in they didn't act professionally in like a soldier. You would guardedly move forward or whatever. These guys ran forward they were civilians helping somebody. So it's that kind of stuff that you work into the story. Like that, none of that shit's in this module. I made Mel, there's some mechanics, like the special rules to the characters have some special tweaks to them. Like one of the party is a master of disguise. She's really charismatic, so she's able to lie really well. She's able to to give those false stories to make people believe. And because they were green troops, they just rolled like shit, and they got duped, and they got sucked into the ambush, and it triggered, and there you go. That you play out that little mission. Now, what's cool about these things? I mean, this thing probably only cost, like $20, right? Or you can probably download this shit on online. There's all sorts of module or gaming PDF houses out there on the internet, and this is a way to really like make campaigns on the cheap. You don't need to get big campaign books from the companies that do your mechanics, or hell, you could have played them all already and you're out of shit, right? So this role-playing modules is a perfect pickup to start doing more campaigns. You don't have to wait around for the next book. You can just make up your own shit, okay? Now, again, let's say we'll keep going on from this module that we had. Now, Mel was able to kill everybody, and so she said, okay, I want to try to, hide the vehicle. So she threw them in the water, and of course, they rolled down the embankment, but they didn't sink. They're just like a German truck and a staff car in the water, half submerged. So, you throw those little fucking quirks in there, Don't let them have everything they want. Have them get a little bit, but not everything. So, in the mechanics, what you can do is that if from this point to their cache, you can roll just secretly to see if there was a patrol that came by that saw this. And if there was, what you can do is you can do another engagement, in the woods before they get to the point where they're going to board the train. Or you can just elevate the alert status of all the units that might be involved in the book. So the train might be alerted to resistance activity in the area, so they might be at station instead of at rest when they're going through the area or whatever. So that's another kick in the pants too. If you don't play it right, if the players are having a hard time and they're making bad decisions, or they're just playing out the combat just tanks, there's gonna be problems with that. Now, if you want to keep this going, again, if you want to play in the way where you want to just have the narrative keep going, even if they fuck up and lose, let's say Mel lost all of her guys except one, right? Well, if you want to keep playing it out, come up with a story where another resistance cell is converging on the same target, and she meets up with them, and there you go. You're able to rebuff, the assault unit against the enemy. So, it's up to you. And, again, I'm not a hard-ass DM. I'm a narrative DM. I used to be oh, you rolled like shit, you're dead. But then I'm a lot of people get attached to their characters, and I try to make it a narrative, because that's a lot of fun if you play a narrative. Now, I don't just give them a free pass, don't get me wrong, but I always give a little bit there, so if they can bring somebody back or whatever the fuck. So you want it to be fun for them. It's not about you winning. It's not about you fucking beating the party or whatever. It's about hosting a good game for the people that are playing against you. But back to this. So, again, it's super easy to just convert this shit, because they're basically miniature war games. When they get to the combat, they're basically they're squares or hexes or whatever it might be. You might have to convert the spaces or whatever. Now, a lot of role-playing games are set in areas that aren't really conducive for miniature wargaming, castles or buildings, large structures, or railroad cars. I mean, unless you're a proficient modeler and have tons of money to create this stuff in 3 dimensions, you're gonna have to bite pride a little bit as a gamer, and maybe play on hex maps, or square maps, with markers and whatnot, like the ChessX maps and stuff. Because a lot of these, or you can just go fucking crazy and spend 3 months in building an actual fucking train with interiors and all that. Now, I would do that. I could do that. I have the skills to that. I don't have the fucking money. So more than likely, when we board the train, it's going to be on a map, a wet dried map. So, and we'll play with the miniatures and whatnot, because a lot of this, or you can just convert the mission into a way that, you know, has the shit that you have, you know, the scenery or the terrain. But again, a lot of role playing games are set inside structures. Yeah, that, you know, that's building up buildings and furnishing it, or, you know, furnishing it or painting it all up or whatever. So, I mean, it's up to you how far you want to go and how detailed you want to go. But again, it's up to you. You're telling the story. You can modify the modules as much as you want. Again, the mechanics are, for most miniature war games, you can easily convert into role playing game. So let's get into like the character, like weapons and shit. You know, like the weapons in the game. So like, you know, they have a Car 98. Well, you know, Car 98 is a Car 98 in whatever system that you're playing, right? But when you get into, like, they might start coming up with like what is this fucking, the Shoggoth Shock Trooper. I mean, that's fucking sweet. Look at that shit. Can you guys see that? Look at that. It's like a human size Shoggoth that like acts as like evil infantry. Now, you might have to fucking come up with some rules for your system. If your system isn't like Weird War, you're gonna have to come up with like what this thing does. So let's do bolt action. It's just because I'm really familiar with bolt action. You know, you would say that this is maybe an elite unit. It's got that, what is it? Furious fighters or whatever, special rules, and they're really tough. Maybe it takes a couple times to kill them, or whatever. So it's up to you as the GM to come up with rules for shit that, you know, like role-playing game stuff. Now, like in Achtung Cthulhu, a fucking great game, fantastic game. If you guys get a chance to play the role-playing game, do it. It's a great role-playing system. The problem is just finding people to play. Role-playing games are tough to just get people at the table. It's just, and especially if they don't know what it is, there's a bit of a learning curve, and sometimes it's intimidating because some people, and then the holidays are coming up, so I mean, shit. I mean, it's always something with role-playing games. It seems to take more commitment for role-playing than it is throwing down in like a miniature game. So, but anyway, so like the special rules here, let's just do some example, because every role-playing game is going to have because this is character-based, it's not unit-based or whatever, it's character-based. So you're going to have to come up with shit. So let's do an example here, okay? So this is Marta. She's like she's the cell leader of this place, okay? Her special rules, they're called talents in Achtung Cthulhu. She's got opportunist, exploit weakness, and rousing speaker. Okay, so you would just read the descriptions of these things. Let's say rousing speaker. So this is what it says in the Achtung Cthulhu role-playing guide. It says, Martyr can stir the emotions of her followers. When she attempts to persuade others with a stirring speech, reduce the difficulty by 1. She can also make a will or persuasion test as a major action with a difficulty of 1 in any action scene. If she succeeds, every ally in the scene gains 2 morale plus 1 morale per momentum for the rest of the scene. Now, most of you motherfuckers are like, what? What the fuck is all that? Again, this isn't the game that you're going to be playing. So you're going to see, obviously, this is just a special rule that gives her the ability to bolster the will and the morale of her troops. Right? So most game mechanics will have that in there already. And miniature wargaming game mechanics will have some sort of leadership range that, you know, your troops can get a bonus to their morale if they're within so many inches from their leader, or whatever it might be, right? Or maybe a die modifier when you're like chain of command, when you roll your shit. You know, maybe there's a way to convert the dice that you roll that'll help you have like a leader, like to activate leaders or whatever the fuck it might be. So obviously that special rule is going to be leadership and morale. So that's easily modifiable. Okay. Opportunist. It basically says that she can capitalize on the mistakes on the enemy. So easy. Let's say if your game system has penalties for 1s, and if they don't have penalties for 1, let's say everybody who makes a 1, you know, they get an attack against them, or she gets a defense, you know, an extra defense dice or an extra save or some bullshit if they roll a 1. So she's capitalizing on their their failure, their extreme failure. So that's easily, you can change that mechanic into your, into whatever game system that you're going to be playing. And then exploit weaknesses. When Marta makes an attack against an unaware enemy or suffer... Okay, so basically, if she is able to surprise a unit that hasn't seen her, then there's bonuses. So there you go. So you've basically converted, Marta's special rules into your gaming mechanics, right? And then there's guys that are snipers. There's special rules for snipers in a lot of miniature wargaming. There's a demolitions expert. So instead of you got those bonuses for any kind of demolition charges or satchel charges or any kind of improvised explosives that you might have in the game system. Their placement or their throwing or their activation is better than normal. Easy stuff to do, guys. Easy stuff. Now, again, this is a role-playing game. So you're going to have to... and I know a lot of... Just trust me. I've been doing this for 40 years. There's some grown-ards out there that don't fucking like role-playing. They hate it. They fucking hate it. But there might be limited role-play. So dupe them into not thinking about it. You just say, okay, Joe, you turn around this corner, you see 2 Germans smoking a cigarette, looking the other direction. What are you going to do? That's all you got to say. You don't have to make them like, okay, man, we're going to role play this scene. So you just ask them a question and have them, oh shit, can I shoot him? Like, yeah, you can shoot him, but there's like 3 other guys around the corner that you can hear, and they'll hear you and they'll activate. So what do you want to hide? You want to like, whatever. So you kind of can guide those guys that really aren't into the role playing and just kind of trick them. Just ask a quick question. Hey, so you want to do this? Da 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 da. And they'll answer, and then they've role played. They fucking role play. They don't have to be in character and go, oh, so twee, there's a Joel. That's my French, guys. That's pretty fucking bad. You don't want to hear me role play other languages. That's really fucking bad. But then the challenge, just Achtung Cthulhu. Okay, this is gonna test your mind of the mechanics that you love, okay, and that you're gonna take apart and make up special rules. Spells, okay. And one of her team, Ives Bogart, is a spellcaster, okay. So we're just gonna pick one spell, okay. We're gonna pick the Spear of Arduna, okay. Let me tell you what it says. You focus your will and call upon the powers of the Celtic goddess, forming a burnished spear of destructive power that you can hurl at your foes to inflict immense damage. The spear will home inexorably on the target, slicing through obstacles and ignoring all cover and armor to strike. And then it's got the mechanics, the descriptions that this rule system uses, okay? So it says it could cause like an explosion or cause like a piercing effect, okay? So this is what I did in Battleground Weird World War II in my system, okay? So obviously this is some sort of projectile spell, okay? So, and there's 2 levels to it. There's like an explosive level, and then there's an armor piercing level, okay? And this armor piercing one, what it looks like, it's pretty goddamn powerful. It's not like 120 millimeter cannon powerful, but it's probably maybe a 50 mil AP shell. That somebody's shooting out of their fucking hand. That's pretty sweet. So that's what you think about. You think about, okay, let's say it takes your action. Let's say your game might not have action. They just activate and do something. Well, there you go. This guy is doing his spell instead of moving or shooting, or he moves and maybe it takes a full round action to actually cast the spell. So let's say the smaller the explosive is the weaker spell, okay? So maybe this will allow you to move and shoot. Like, maybe your mechanics allow you to move and shoot. Well, this one will let you do that. So let's say you give it a range. There's this has a range on it, but it's within the game system. So let's say it's a 24-inch range. You just make shit up. You're just making shit up. These guys, the guys that are playing, they don't know what the fuck. But you of course, you'll tell them what their stuff is before they play. So we'll give it a 24-inch range, and we'll just say it's like a 24-inch, range, and then when it hits, it produces like a grenade template. Okay. And if you want to up the power, you can say it's the grenade template, but you roll as if it was whatever. You got the modifiers that'll modify that explosion. Now let's say you want to do the armor piercing. Okay, so your game mechanic allows you to move and shoot. Okay, well because it's so powerful, maybe you can't move. You can only do the spell, so you can't move. You deduct the movement to just show that you're like, that's it's the power's growing and whatever. And then you give it a range. Just come up with some arbitrary range. And if you're not good at that, just pick a weapon like in your rule system. Like I said, a 50mm anti-tank gun, right? There's probably stats for that in your fucking system. Just use that as the high-powered weapon. And there you go. You got your spells, man. Easy shit. Easy to convert this stuff. So easy. Okay? It's not daunting, but you just got to sit down and think about it. You don't even have to fucking use these. These are just guidelines for the spells for the system. You can come up with your own shit. You can say no spells. Or they're able to summon, fucking monsters or bears or fucking whatever it might be. Just, come up with something. And, it's all about having fun, man. And again, you want it challenging. You don't want it to be a fucking pushover. And you want to make this, but, if you're going to use this as a campaign, you're going to want to kind of balance it. So they're not just, they're not going to go up against, a platoon of crack Folsomjägers. It's just, that's not, they're going to lose. I mean, just playing it out, the game mechanics, they're just going to lose. It's just they're not going to be able to produce that kind of, firepower against that kind of enemy. So you're going to have to really, if the game doesn't already do it, that you're taking the module, from, you need to either lower it down or power it up, whatever you want to do. But again, easy. If you know the system, you're going to need to know the system, okay? Because for you to convert a system, you're going to need to know what the fuck the system's about. So pick a system that you know well, okay? That your buddies all know well, and then before the game, you'll write out all the special rules and what changes in the mechanics happen, right? And then it's party time, man. You just have a great time. You have you just you play out the fucking modules, to the T, or you can use them as guidelines to come up with your own mission or whatever. But again, I'm telling you, this is a whole new pool to take from for your wargaming. These guys, these gamers, they're these writers are great. Although they're writing to a role-playing system, man, they fucking work great for any kind of wargaming. Just, think outside the box a little bit and just deconstruct it and then just make it your own. They got some great stories. A lot of these role-playing systems have some great stories. Their modules and some of their campaign systems are fucking huge. Huge. And you can make a long, miniature war game campaign out of some of these things. You really can. You can do the whole Battle of the Bulge, Weird War, or you can do, whatever it might be, whatever module you take from. You can really make it your own with the system that you want to play with. So don't be afraid to, get a module, check it out. There's a lot of modules out there that are cost nothing, man. You can get some of the free ones on what is it, RPG drive-in or drive-through, whatever it is. There's a suggestion donate money. You can give them whatever you want, and you can just make it your own and convert however you want. And it gives you an idea on how to play it out. Liven up those games of bolt action and chain of command, and instead of just shoot me, shoot you, whatever. Have a story to it. have an actual story. Give these miniatures that you spend so much time painting, right? Give them fucking names. Make them do heroic shit. Make, sit there, you paint that lieutenant badass, but in these mechanics, in these games, they just die off, they just, but make shit. You can actually have these guys do fantastic things with these kind of modules. All your models can be named, and they can do fantastic things and do these great actions. And I've had many a game where it was one guy was like a fucking Medal of Honor winner. He just went along and did all sorts of crazy shit, and it was fucking a blast. We have a blast. Everybody's laughing. That's great gaming. When you got people laughing and shit about what's happening or the die rolls and whatever. It's great to see when you could see these mechanics turn into something different and make it so much better, in my opinion. I don't know. So what do you guys think? I know there's a couple guys on here. What do you guys think? Have you guys converted any role-playing games into your tabletop wargaming? I know JC was telling me that he used Morrow Project. I'm not familiar with Morrow Project, dude. JC is, of course, the badass who writes for EdTech Series, Nuts. He does lots of Ed's Nuts books and the Weird War II side of it, the War Without End. So, and there is a Kickstarter going on right now, crowdfunder. So, check out JC's upcoming Nuts reboot. Is it a reboot or is it just a continuation? I think it's a reboot, isn't it? Man, it's like hot. Dude, Mel likes my fucking hair long and I fucking hate it. It's fucking hot. But yeah, so if you guys have any role-playing games that you guys enjoy converting into your World War II or Weird War II, let us know about it in the comments, either here or on the YouTube channel or any other locales that I have on here. I'd like to see what you guys use in your conversions. But yeah, man, I've already been talking for 50 minutes, man. That's crazy. Tell me to shut up, man. Well, if anybody has anything, let me know. I hope, I know there's a few people out there. Interesting side note, I've been talking to the director, producer and director of the new Weird War II movie coming out called Dick Dynamite 1944. Pretty cool dude. Been talking about him. Just he's in Scotland, and we've been just rapping about the project and Weird World War II and Grindhouse and Pulp, World War II stories and shit. Cool guy. Definitely check out his upcoming movie, Dick Dynamite 1944. Should be sweet. I'll try to put a link into the for the trailer so you guys can all check it out. But all right, guys. Well, I think I pretty much said what I wanted to say about converting RPGs into miniature war games. So definitely check out Achtung Cthulhu's line. Great line of stuff. Their new edition and their old edition. Great stuff. Achtung Cthulhu and Call of Cthulhu has some great shit. You can just instead of having investigators, you've got you got belligerents or their secret agents, the OSS, or you got the Germans, spy networks, or the Japanese, or whoever it might be. You can convert that stuff pretty easy. Who else? And again, anything that's modern, anything that has weapon and shit, you can go. I guess you can do fantasy. It's a little bit different. There's a lot more monsters and stuff in fantasy, but again, you can just do whatever the fuck you want. If you got a bunch of D&D stuff laying around, look at it in the eye, look at it in a different light. Look at, hey man, this encounter was a lot of fun when we played it out in fantasy. I wonder if there's any way I can convert this into like a World War II skirmish, battle or some shit, or a campaign. So, all right, fellas, ladies, and everybody in between, it's about time. It was great talking to everybody. Thanks for everybody that came by. I hope you guys get some insight and some ideas that might help continue on your gaming. All right? So, whatever you do in this crazy mixed up fucking world, be kind and be weird. Take it easy.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're gonna press on, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.